Metaphysics Hour. I am your host, Rory Colgan. Tonight, whenever you're tuning in, we are going to be examining the 2020 presidential election results on November the 11th in the United States of America. So, let's get down to brass tacks. First off, there are 4 facts that I hope, everybody can agree with. Number 1, President-elect Biden has claimed victory. Number 2, the mainstream media supports this narrative, whether it's CNN, Fox, the AP. AP was the first ones to break it. Number 3, President Trump has not conceded and has issued a number of legal lawsuits, I guess, if you will, in different states. States that if they swing towards him because he can prove fraudulent voting, then he may get another 4 years. And the 4th thing that I wanted to bring up, keep going right and left and center, is that the United States operates off of a group of laws. There's state laws, there's local laws, and there's federal laws. So the nuances of how this will play out is still yet to be determined. It seems a lot of people, I think, are probably where they were before the election. So if they voted for a candidate, they probably support that narrative. Whether that's Biden, of course, he was elected president-elect. The AP and other news organizations have confirmed this. If it's President Trump that those individuals supported, it is, there was fraud, there was massive voter fraud, and things don't smell right, and so we have to go through these legal processes in order to come to the legitimate winner of said election. And if you voted for Joe Jorgensen or some Green Party candidate or somebody else, you're just kind of like, meh, yeah, my guy or my woman did not win. But the point is, those perspectives that we may hold may pan out to be true. In other words, Trump may keep the presidency through winning the presidency through some sort of legal challenge, or it may go in the other direction, which is that Biden will become the 46th president of the United States. Obviously, this isn't metaphysics, this is just physics, like this is where we stand. But in order to get to the metaphysics, it's good to see where the physics is. In other words, it's good to see where the trees are before you start feeling for the energy of the trees. And so in that, let us look at what's most important in this interesting period of time. Anecdotally, I have not, in my mind, given the presidency to either candidate. And that is a challenge. I think I was 16 the last time there was a contested election, and that was George W. Bush versus Al Gore. And it came down to some lawsuit battle, I believe, in Florida. And that wasn't decided until December of that year. But I was 16 and apolitical. I didn't really care. Didn't matter. Couldn't even vote. And so I just didn't realize that there was a thing that you could do called reserve judgment. Reserve placing an expectation on an outcome because the outcome is yet to be decided. I think I would put it on probably like a 80 to 20 for Biden, but that's just kind of like a, anecdotal experience of what I think is likely to occur. But that doesn't, at the end of the day, make me get lazy or allow me to get lazy and say President-elect for Biden and President Trump is coming out of office. And I think that's kind of the Trump's narrative as well, is that he's still got a bunch of legal battles that he wants to fight, and he won't concede until those battles have been lost. And then, there's other narratives and other ways of describing how this works in the world. But if we look at the physics of it, this is where it's at. And so it's actually undecided. And I think it would be helpful for people to recognize that it is undecided. You can have your own personal bias like I do. I have like an 80-20 for Biden. That's a judgment of a future, a probability that is yet to come. You may have a 99 to 1% chance that Biden becomes president, or flip it around and say Trump's going to become president at 99% and 1% Biden will. And that's fine because we all have our personal opinions on the matter. But the fact of the matter is that the presidency has yet to be declared. And so this is one of those places that the mainstream media hasn't necessarily elucidated quite well. And so that's why I'm speaking to you, because it's important to realize that it has yet to be decided. And I know that's tough. It's tough. It's been like 5 days. And in a human's mind, it's hard to be that indecisive about an experience for 5 days in a row. You know, it's like, do I want the car or do I not want the car? Can you be undecided about it for 5 whole days? Usually you make up your mind quicker than that. And that's just a simple issue of the car. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to realize, no matter who you voted for, or if you're like me and couldn't vote, which is a story in and of itself, that you have the opportunity in front of you to practice non-attachment. You have the opportunity in front of you to practice being present and being aware of the environment. What tends to happen, and what I've seen happen, is that people are continuing with their narrative. Their narrative either that it was rigged in favor of the Democrats, or that Trump is a sore loser and he's grasping for straws and trying to usurp the election. Now, either one of those could be true, but I'm bringing up the point as to what could possibly help you interact with other humans who might possibly disagree with you. Do you want that? Or are you willing to put somebody in a subhuman category because of their political opinions? And, you know, if the answer is yes to that, then that is unfortunate, perhaps. I mean, it is your right to have those opinions, but I don't see it, nor have I seen it in a historical reference, ever leading to anything other than war, terror, genocide, hatred, superiority, inferiority, slavery, all things that humans are, let's just say, infamous for. So if that's what you would like to avoid, then I recommend that you talk to people who think different than you, and you learn how to see the facts. And the facts as they stand right now is that the U.S. politics, as far as the United States of American president, the next one, has yet to be determined. Again, you can have your own perspectives, beliefs on it, but this could help you understand somebody else's narrative, perhaps, or perhaps encourage the recognition of the truth, which is, well, there's still a challenge, and normally what has happened in the past elections, minus Gore versus Bush, is that the opponent also concedes with the media projections, right? This is how they declare a winner, and they declare a winner based on the projections and their understanding of those projections. And in that, we have a difference. We have a president who has not conceded the election. And so again, and I hate to be kind of like a broken record, but it is important for us to recognize that until the president concedes or the election results are certified and approved and the Electoral College goes to vote and submits their votes, and it becomes a legal thing because this is a legal election. So you got to follow the rules. If it was, you know, a Thanksgiving party and you were all voting for who was going to be the one to get to carve the turkey, you could make up your own rules because there's no precedent. Or if there is, that comes from your family, that comes from your tradition. So our rules, or the United States rules, if you want to be really objective about it, say that there is a process, and that process has yet to be fulfilled. So there's 10 minutes explaining the physics and how I think in many cases the physics isn't actually being appreciated. So mind-blowing, right? Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this particular concept. the concept of metaphysics as it relates to an election. Again, we're going to use the presidential election as an opportunity to examine. About 140 million people cast votes for this particular election for a presidential candidate. Okay? And so in that, you are contributing one little drop to a swimming pool of water, right? So like you may be maybe an eye drop or maybe a full eye drop of a Olympic-sized swimming pool. That's how much your vote matters. Depending upon what you've done up to the election, you may have swinged your friends, your family, convinced them through arguments that a particular candidate was worth voting for, and maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people also voted the way you voted because they believed your argument. Now that's, if you're not like actually working on the campaign and you're just a lay person, that's pretty substantial to have 50 votes that you could attribute to your direct influence, because usually it's the candidates that either sell the people on the particular on themselves or sell them against themselves. In other words, they do something that a person doesn't approve of and they're like, I could never vote for that person. So in that, you have to imagine yourself at like a Thanksgiving party, and there's 139,999,999 other people. Like, I can't even say that in English correctly, but you get my point. 140 millionth of the room in this Thanksgiving party. And you get to choose your game. You get to choose your candidate. Well, you lose a lot of power when you put your vote in a group of 140 million other votes, for simplicity's sake. And so in that, metaphysically, we have to understand that you as the individual aren't really determining the outcome. And as I've said before, even if you've done some work as a layperson, you got 40, 50 votes for your person, you helped determine an outcome, potentially. But it may also have been insignificant, and often it is insignificant. This isn't to stimulate you to feel hopeless, but rather to accustom yourself with the sensation of what it's like to be in a group of people that big. I mean, have you been at a holiday party with 20 people? You can't be the center of attention, usually, for all 20 of those people. Or if you are, it's probably not under the best of circumstances. You know, you slipped on the cat, fell down the stairs, you burnt the turkey, something, something, yada, yada. It's hard to stand out in a crowd like that. So here's the metaphysics of it. Humbleness allows you to connect to your value, your interior value. And in that humility, you can see your association to all others. And you recognize that all people are equal in the highest sense, in the deepest sense. And you recognize that your value is real and it's not going to be affected by the outcome of the other people or the choices of the other people. Though you are connected to them, your sense of value is independent of their choices. This gets back to my last video, which was talking about the universal law of divine birthright, that you exist and you have free will. Your existence is not dependent upon an election. Your existence is not dependent upon others. Your existence is something that is given to you by the Creator, by the Great Light, by Allah, by God, by the Tao. That is something that can never be taken from you. And so regardless of the outcome of this election, your essence remains pure, your essence remains stable, your essence remains undeterred and powerfully present. What happens up here is that most people get consumed by what all these other people are doing. And when all these other people are doing something that you don't like, then you feel like you've lost your center. But your center was never the group of people. And that's something that's important to realize in an election. The results of the election are not your center. Your center is yourself. Come back to yourself. Come back to who you are. Follow the breath as it goes in and as it goes out. Stop the thinking and allow yourself to experience the reality of the present moment. When and if you can achieve this, you have found your center, or at least the pathway to your center. And if you can do that, then this election, regardless of the outcome, and whenever it comes, you won't lose your center. This is probably the deepest lesson that I can offer anybody in the United States of America or in any other country as they deal with the results of elections and how that result affects the consciousness. So let me remind you again some of the keys. 1, remember the facts. 2, familiarize yourself with the facts. 3, experience yourself through a state of humbleness. When you can reach that state of humility, your true value is accessed. You're not above nor below any other part of creation. You are connected. You are one with all. And you are centered within yourself. Your point of reference is yourself. It's not the others. You have to have a reference point within yourself. Even if you are others-centered, you have to come back to center. You have to be the one in control of your own mind, so to speak. And so regardless of how the election goes, remember that that is something that we all participate in and we have a very small influence with. But where we have a large influence is whether or not we come back to our center, whether or not we become present, whether or not we relax and allow ourselves to connect with our divine essence. And from that point of divinity, interact with other people. Because the people you're interacting with on a daily basis, those are the ones that you have the most influence over. Those are the ones you have the most power with and expression with. So if you're centered, you're going to have a more successful interaction with those people. If you're caught in this grand experiment of democracy, this republic called the United States of America, you might be so engaged up here in your cerebral that you forget your greatest treasure, which is in your chest, and deeper within. So, these are my suggestions, these are my hopes. I love you guys all. God bless. Namaste.